Episode 3 of Season 4 had a ton of memorable moments, including but not limited to MIRIO using a vending machine, Nighteye bullying a first-year high school student, and who could forget these two being super salty about Deku's new internship. And we also got to see Hawks animated for the first time, but we'll get to that bit later. So episode 3 picks off right after the last one, where Deku tried to make Sir Nighteye laugh by doing a 10 out of 10 All Might impression. And this episode is where we get the reveal that Nighteye himself is in fact a massive weeb. Now I know he's Japanese, but he can still be a weeb. The reason I say this is because this guy rips apart Deku's impersonation of All Might because the wrinkles on his face were like a few centimeters off what the real All Might looks like. Seriously, bro? We get to see a bunch of his All Might memorabilia, including this awesome All Might Funko, which I was actually thinking of getting myself. Deku then highlights how the wrinkles on his face are actually accurate because he was impersonating a specific incident where All Might happened to look like that. And I like this moment a lot because we get to see some brief footage of Prime All Might. This is the second time this season that has actually happened, and long may it continue. So although Deku couldn't actually make him laugh, they at least got to bond over their encyclopedic knowledge of the man himself. So moving on, Nighteye basically implies that he'll take Deku on for an internship before making the ultimate dick move. Deku needs this contract stamped before he can join the agency, and Nighteye proceeds to go to stamp it and then stamp the table. He then challenges Deku to stamp the form himself, leading to the main fight of the episode. Now, just like last week, the visuals here were absolutely top notch. Now, we got to see a lot of cool stuff, especially Nighteye effortlessly dodging Midoriya, as well as this negative shot and a few other shots where Nightaye's quirk, you could actually see it at work. But the best thing about this fight to me was when Nighteye revealed that MIRIO, in his opinion, should have been the one to inherit One for All. And if it wasn't for the episode last week, it actually would have been a really massive reveal. But let's be real here, guys. MIRIO does look like he could be All Might's son, or at the very least a long lost cousin or like half brother or something like that. And his chirpy nature isn't too far removed from what Prime All Might used to be like. But until this season, we had never heard any realistic, like concrete evidence about anyone who could have succeeded All Might other than Deku. So you can only imagine Deku's shock at hearing this. But anyway, moving on to the conclusion of the fight, Deku fails to overcome Nightae's foresight, despite making the pretty smart deduction that Nightae's visions don't actually allow him to see everything in the future. I did kind of like how his face just slammed into the wall though. Like, if you look closely, you can see the blood, like his bloody nose, trailing down the wall as he comes down as well. I thought that was a pretty cool detail. However, despite failing to stamp the form, Deku does actually manage to make Nighteye laugh due to the fact that this whole time he was jumping around like Gran Torino, he was actually avoiding touching all the All Might memorabilia because he's just that big of a fanboy. And with that done, Deku gets his internship, but it should be noted that the only reason Nighteye actually accepted wasn't because Deku made him laugh, but rather it was because Nighteye wanted to show Deku that MIRIO is the one who is worthy of One for All. Now, the remainder of this episode mainly consisted of an anime exclusive scene, so this didn't appear in the manga, and it's basically all the students in their dorms hyping up Deku for getting his internship. And this, my friends, is where we finally get to see Hawks after 4 long seasons, although just to set your expectations, it was literally for 3 seconds. It was when Tokuyami announced that he was going to accept an internship there. But I do love how this episode is setting the foundations already, because we know Hawks is going to be in the new movie in December, and now I'm actually pretty sure he's going to be at the end of season 4 as well, so this is a nice way of easing him in, rather than him just coming out of nowhere. And the funniest thing about this whole dorm scene was just Todoroki and Bakugo being like super jealous of Deku surpassing them, and I think for all intents and purposes, these 3 are obviously being made out to be the next big 3 of UA, and it seems that Deku has done what MIRIO did in terms of just pulling ahead of the pack. But anyway, getting back to the episode, there was a post-credit scene that did actually get me a little bit hyped just because it was so menacing. So the preview shows a young girl called Eri running down a dark alleyway, and as she's running, she's being followed by slow footsteps and a shadowy figure right behind her. Now this figure is of course Overhaul, and if you don't know who that is, you can either catch up with my Overhaul Explained in 2 minutes video, or you can watch my episode 2 review where he kind of like makes his debut. But anyway, for me, I think this episode was pretty good. Though I did think it ended a bit sooner than I was expecting. I thought we'd go all the way up to where Eri was interacting with other people, but I guess they're saving that for episode 4. And to give us that anime only scene of the kids in the dorms, I guess it does make sense that they had to sacrifice something and just push it back to the next episode. But in terms of setting the groundwork for what's to come, it definitely did that, not just by giving Deku his internship, but also adding that scene where Tokuyami reveals he's going to intern with Hawks, and Kirishima and Ochako are both invited to speak to members of the Big 3. And Froppy too, I can't forget Froppy. So overall, I'll give this episode an 8 out of 10. But what did you guys rate the episode? Please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Peace.